How Guilford First Selectman Matt Hoey succeeded in bringing methadone clinic to Guilford without public notice, without public input, without impact studies, and without background checks into the APT Foundation or the impact their clinics have had on other communities. Here are the facts. On November 17, 2023, the APT Foundation recorded a podcast which was subsequently posted on their website on December 18, 2023, a month later. This was an open access, open mic podcast of an interview with Guilford First Selectman Matt Hoey and North Haven First Selectman Mike Frieda. During this interview, First Selectman Hoey was asked how the APT Foundation came to Guilford and describes how he dismissed the reaction of Guilford citizens when they found out about it.
Matt, talk to me a little bit about how you came to see this as an important issue for Guilford, and I guess your experiences of working with the App Foundation to date.
Claire, thank you for the question. I can really thank my good friend Mike Frieda for the introduction to Lynn and her team. Mike asked if I'd take a meeting with them because they were interested in doing something out here on the shoreline. And I immediately said yes for a variety of reasons. When we had the first announcement that app was potentially coming into town, newspaper article, etc., I got the classic feedback from all over the community. I got positive feedback. I got the not in my backyard pitchforks. We don't want it here. You're going to diminish our property values, yada, yada, yada. Again, as Mike said, we have to take some leadership positions, and which I doubt property values in the adjacent area, particularly homes. They're not in a high density area where homes are located, but a couple of side streets away, they are in proximity. But I don't necessarily believe that their housing values are going to drop. There are so many other attributes in Guilford that this is not going to change the look and feel and the desirability of moving into Guilford.
Note that First Selectman Hoey said, when we had the first announcement that APT was potentially coming into town, newspaper article, yada, 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 he was referring to an online article in the Connecticut Examiner on August 17, 2023, entitled, Nonprofit to Open Addiction Treatment Clinic on the Post Road in Guilford. First Selectman Hoey then goes on to explain the process which takes place when developers want to come into town and how the town of Guilford and the APT Foundation were still in the initial stages of the approval process. This meeting that First Selectman Hoey referred to as the initial meeting with the APT Foundation actually took place on September 19, 2023.
The App Foundation is really at the initial stages. We have a process here when developers come into town where we meet with the respective land use regulatory bodies, building, health, environmental, engineering, and of course planning and zoning. So the initial meeting that we had with the App Foundation team, where they presented a preliminary set of plans, was a working session. It was one where we interact with them. How can we best modify or adapt their plan for the property it's in and the specific zoning requirements, and then our general code requirements. So my staff, they probably understood my position on it. Let me say it that way. They did understand my position on this. And I have a phrase that I'm fond of when it comes to the zoning and planning and regulatory agencies is, how do we get to yes?
Prior to the September 19, 2023 initial meeting, First Selectman Matt Hoey had sent an email to APT CEO Lynn Madden and her team on August 21, 2023, saying, quote, word has gotten out about your purchase and plans. We had a brief discussion at our Board of Selectmen meeting this morning, and there doesn't appear to be much concern from the board. Started to get a couple of residents voicing concern, unquote. At the September 21, 2023 meeting, attendees included First Selectman Matt Hoey, Town Planner Ann Harchin, and all Guilford Land Use Development Department heads. But remember, the podcast where First Selectman Hoey stated we are still in the initial stages of the approval with APT Foundation and referred to this September 19, 2023 meeting as the initial meeting with the APT Foundation was recorded on November 17, 2023. 2 months after this initial meeting. Misleading? Consider this. Through a Freedom of Information request submitted by mid-December 2023, we learned about an email sent by APT CEO Lynn Madden to First Selectman Matt Hoey on March 22, 2023, thanking him for meeting with her team the week before. This mid-March meeting took place a full 6 months prior to the September 19, 2023 meeting, which Hoey refers to as the, quote, initial meeting, unquote, with APT. Specifically, in this March 22, 2023 email, APT CEO Lynn Madden said, quote, Matt, thank you for meeting with me, Mike, and Valerie last week. It was a pleasure to meet you. Your welcome and your openness to our organization and its potential location in Guilford is much appreciated. We have learned that the property at 439 Boston Post Road is under contract to another party. We will keep our hands in there in case that deal does not proceed. However, we have made an offer on the adjacent property at 417 Post Road and would optimally purchase both, unquote. Besides the timing of this meeting, what is important to note is that First Selectman Hoey discussed the property at 439 Boston Post Road, the Play Cafe, with APT CEO Lynn Madden and her team at this meeting. What is not clear is whether First Selectman Matt Hoey suggested to APT CEO Lynn Madden that she purchase this property. Let's return to the November 17, 2023 APT podcast for a moment. In this podcast, North Haven First Selectman Mike Freda explained how he reacted when he met with APT CEO Lynn Madden back in 2012, and she expressed interest in purchasing the abandoned Clintonville Manor nursing home on Clintonville Road, Route 22 in North Haven.
Tell me a little bit about how you took those first steps, I guess, into working with Lynn and establishing the clinic. And what was the reaction from the local community at the time?
So it first started where Lynn reached out for me, came in to see me, and there was a old nursing home that had gone out of business on Route 22. It was called Clintonville Manor. And Lynn came to see me. She was thinking of purchasing it and wanted my thoughts. She came in, we had a very nice discussion. And I said to her that I think it's going to be a problem because that nursing home, to put an app foundation there, a methadone clinic, I just knew that the residents would really come out against it. And I tried to describe how important I thought the facility was here in North Haven. But the reality was, right in the middle of homes and residents, it would really be a problem. And I'll never forget what happened. Lynn said to me, Michael, thank you very much for the conversation. I really appreciate your time. And she started to get up off her chair, from my recollection. And I said to Lynn, wait a minute. I really want to try to work with you here. I have another location. 353 State Street. It's in sort of a commercial industrial area.
Why didn't Guilford First Selectman Matt Hoey respond similarly to APT CEO Lynn Madden when she expressed interest in purchasing the property at 439 Boston Post Road in Guilford? He must have known that this property was located only 250 feet away from the closest house, only 470 feet away from a large daycare facility, and only 200 feet away from a Dairy Queen frequented by many Guilford families and children. After that March 22, 2023 meeting with Guilford First Selectman Matt Hoey, we first learned that APT bought the properties at 415, 417 Boston Post Road on June 28, 2023, and the property at 439 Boston Post Road, the Play Cafe, on July 25, 2023. Through a Connecticut Examiner article on August 17, 2023, this article not only was the first notification that these properties were sold to the APT Foundation for the purpose of opening a methadone clinic in Guilford, but is also significant because First Selectman Matt Hoey neglected to mention his mid-March meeting with the APT team. Instead, First Selectman Hoey said, quote, "I've had a conversation with the CEO who had expressed interest in locating a facility on the shoreline to take care of their population that is along the shoreline all the way to Old Lyme," unquote. If First Selectman Hoey discussed the potential purchase of this property with APT in mid-March, why was there no public announcement by the town of Guilford before this? Why were Guilford residents not informed about this methadone clinic until August 17, 2023, and then only through an internet newspaper that very few people read? Why did First Selectman Matt Hoey and the town of Guilford disrespect the citizens and businesses in Guilford by not making a public announcement and not holding public hearings regarding the methadone clinic? At the Guilford P&Z meeting on January 3, 2024, First Selectman Hoey answered this question when he said,
"The Board of Selectmen declined a request from a member of the public to literally direct the Planning and Zoning Commission to have a public hearing on this particular issue. Nor did the Board of Selectmen deem it appropriate that this would be the subject of a special town meeting, because a special town meeting could not, by any action, impact the decision that this board makes. So I just wanted a clarification since that question was raised."
Why didn't Guilford First Selectman Matt Hoey and the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission hold public hearings before approving the APT methadone clinic?
The impact studies of our town, have we done anything like what it's going to do for our public services? Or is it going to raise our taxes because we need more police and fire?
This is not the time for this conversation.
When is it? Listen, on that podcast, you said you would not do one of these meetings. You said that. I heard you.
I said what?
You said that these meetings are not necessary because you didn't
I
want to
never
answer
said
our
these
questions.
meetings were not necessary.
You absolutely did.
I did not.
You did too. It's on tape.
Public hearings are unnecessary. This is
a public hearing.
No, it is
No,
not.
it's not.
It absolutely
Not by
is.
the definition of our charter.
So you work for us, but you won't answer any questions.
I'm gonna read the statement that I was gonna do at the end of this.
This is really sad. It's really sad that you're forcing
if you
this
like to
into
speak,
our
you can come up
town,
here, but it's not
you won't
helpful to
answer any of
chirp
our
in like you're in the
questions.
cheap
I
seat.
will answer the questions.
I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Oh, where?
constructively.
People
Wait a
are
second.
sending you emails and you don't answer
Would
them.
you please refrain so I can read the statement? I just want to set the
Is it more
record clear.
gaslighting?
I want to set the record clear on a couple of things. First off, the Board of Selectmen, the town planner, and planning and zoning acted in compliance with all statutory charter and zoning code regulations. In fact, If the foundation had not proposed any changes to the building which triggered a site plan, the change of use permit would have been issued on an administrative basis by the town planner because it's an as-of-right use of this property, which goes to basic property rights as enshrined in our zoning code and in state statutes. As it relates to public hearing, they are not required, they are not stipulated for a simple site plan application or a straight use of business change. The Planning and Zoning Commission could not have considered any input on the type of business being proposed, just on the site plan changes itself.
Similarly, at the informational meeting with the APT Foundation on February 27, 2024, APT CEO Lynn Madden was asked why she did not discuss their Guilford Methadone Clinic with the concerned citizens and businesses in Guilford, who would be most impacted until after they bought the property. By then, it was a done deal. First Selectman Hoey even admits that he was asked to keep the potential purchase confidential and that he honored that request, ensuring that nothing could be done to stop the methadone clinic coming to Guilford.
I mean, you knew this was going to be a controversial project, I think, because, well, it was controversial in North Haven, you said. Why did you decide to wait to have a forum like this and to discuss some of these questions and to discuss location until after you were in a position to say it's a done deal and nothing could be done? That's the question I have.
Okay, so that's it. So respectfully, what I would say is we did not expect this to be a particularly controversial process. We are moving into a building that's in a commercially zoned area, right? That what we're planning to do in that building is permitted by right. That was a respectful decision that we made based on the zoning laws of this community. And we followed all of the process steps, including meeting with folks at the city administration. All along the way, we've worked with planning and zoning, we've worked with the wetlands people. There has been absolutely nothing secret about this process whatsoever.
When did it first get announced to the public? When did it first get announced to the public?
We first spoke with city administration in about a year ago now.
Yeah, but so a year ago you told the current administration. I mean, I read the paper every day. I didn't hear about this till when? I mean, a month ago?
Right. I observed the request for confidentiality when the App Foundation came here, like I do with any other business owner that comes to Guilford looking to purchase property. For instance, I had conversations with Target long before that became public domain information. It was out of respect, and it also could have impacted their ability and the price on that piece of property.
I mean, I think part of the reaction at some of the crowd here is the feeling that we as a public were not respected. Maybe there could have been input. Maybe there could have been input in the process about whether there is a better location in Guilford, which was not made available to us.
Thank you for the comment.
When First Selectman Matt Hoey hosted the meeting with APT CEO Lynn Madden and her team in March of 2023, he was totally on board with bringing a methadone clinic to Guilford. He discussed with them the location APT eventually purchased at 439 Boston Post Road, and he agreed to keep the purchase confidential. He knew that the property was zoned for medical use as of right, and there would be no way to stop APT from opening the methadone clinic. It is clear that he had no intention of involving the citizens and businesses of Guilford in the approval process. Guilford First Selectman Matt Hoey himself made the decision to bring the APT methadone clinic to Guilford at this March 2023 meeting. The question is, why did First Selectman Hoey imply there would be public hearings regarding the methadone clinic in an August 17, 2023 Connecticut Examiner article in which he said, quote, "The APT Foundation filed the application, and planning and zoning, depending on the nature of that application, will hold a public hearing. Sometimes they'll hold 2 public hearings. The process usually takes a couple of months for hearings, deliberation, and potential approval of the change of use." Besides keeping the purchase of 439 Boston Post Road, the Play Cafe, secret, through a series of FOIA requests, we learned that First Selectman Hoey actively attempted to control the narrative surrounding the APT Foundation and their purchase of this property. On August 28, 2023, First Selectman Hoey sent an email to Lynn Madden and Ben Rayner in which he said, "Lynn, meet Ben Rayner, reporter from the Guilford Courier. Ben, meet Lynn Madden, President, CEO of the APT Foundation, the proud owner of 3 contiguous properties on the east side of Route 1 Guilford. I'd like to host an introductory call to give Ben the requisite background on this important project and facility." Amazingly, on February 9, 2024, this same Ben Rayner, whose favorable article about APT and the methadone clinic was published in the Guilford Courier on September 12, 2023, stormed into a town meeting at the Guilford Community Center where the clinic was being discussed, wearing a shirt with offensive words on it, disrupted the meeting, and screamed at all those in attendance that they were racists.
Here in Guilford.
Hey folks, I'm going to interrupt this meeting so you know exactly what's going on here tonight. My name is Ben Rayner. You know that name as the reporter for the Courier. I'm not here as a reporter tonight. I'm here as a Guilford resident, taxpayer, and property owner.
Yes.
And this is bullshit. This is a fraud. The person who set this up is a liar, and he is a fraud, and he's a
Sir.
And you know why I know why? Do you know why I know why? Because I saw every bit of correspondence between him and members of the town. And it's a lie and a fraud. The only people who are welcome in Guilford are the racists and the Quislings behind them. Do you know who this is for? Do you know who this addiction clinic is for? It's for you, you idiots! It's for your children! It's for your grandchildren!
You call the police!
No, you
have no business.
No, I do have business
no, you
here.
Don't. Somebody
You
call
people
the police.
need to pack your bags
sorry,
and move to Alabama or Moscow or wherever else.
At the Guilford Board of Selectmen sponsored informational meeting with APT CEO Lynn Madden on February 27, 2024 at the Guilford Community Center, Lynn Madden admitted that APT had been looking for a location on the shoreline for 10 years. When asked if she would discuss moving their location to another more appropriate location, Lynn Madden said of the Play Cafe, quote, "It's the right size. It's the right price. It's properly zoned for our use. This is the ideal location for us," unquote. And she would not consider moving the clinic.
It's the right size, it's the right price, it's properly zoned for our use. It has been even before the zoning regulations shifted. And this is why we were interested in the property. We are not location for us, given the size of the program that we are planning for this community.
But somehow you chose.
At the Guilford Board of Selectmen meeting on March 18, 2024, First Selectman Hoey confirmed that Lynn Madden would not consider moving the methadone clinic to a more appropriate location. At this same meeting, the Guilford Board of Selectmen rejected 2 petitions signed by 450 Guilford residents. The first, that the Guilford zoning regulations be amended to say that medical addiction clinics could not be located closer than 500 feet from the closest residence, nor closer than 1,000 feet from the closest school or daycare facility. And the second, that the Guilford town leadership must enter into immediate discussions with the APT Foundation to move their methadone clinic to a more appropriate location, an industrial location. These rejections came after the Guilford Board of Selectmen also rejected a petition signed by 68 Guilford residents asking that the board hold a special town meeting to suspend renovations by APT at 439 Boston Post Road until public hearings are held, impact studies completed and evaluated, and background checks conducted on the APT Foundation and the effect that their clinics have had on other communities.
From the foundation's perspective, their willingness to even talk about change. I think that question is asked and answered at least a couple of times at the last meeting when Lynn Madden was asked, would you consider moving? She said no.
The Town of Guilford, Connecticut Code of Ethics, Section 31(1) says, quote, "The actions of a town official affect every resident of the town. The trust of the public in the integrity of its officials is essential. It is the responsibility of each official to act in a manner which promotes trust and confidence in such officials' actions and in the conduct of town business. The purpose of the code is to establish ethical standards for such officials that will ensure that the affairs, decisions, and actions of the town be conducted without favoritism or conflict of interest, consistent with the highest ethical standards," unquote. In Section 31-6 of the Town of Guilford Code of Ethics, it says, quote, "An official should avoid circumstances which could compromise the official's ability to make decisions solely in the public interest or that could create an appearance of impropriety," unquote. "370 Guilford concerned residents signed an ethics complaint against Guilford First Selectman Matt Hoey, which was submitted to the Guilford Board of Ethics on February 29, 2024. This complaint requested that a hearing be held into the unethical actions of Guilford First Selectman Matt Hoey regarding the APT Methadone Clinic. Specifically, it documented how First Selectman Matt Hoey had violated the Guilford Code of Ethics when he made the decision to bring the APT Methadone Clinic to Guilford on his own, how he conspired to keep it secret, how he endeavored to control the narrative, how he intentionally deceived the citizens and businesses of Guilford, and how he prevented the citizens and businesses of Guilford from having any say in the matter," unquote. This ethics complaint was rejected by the Guilford Board of Ethics at their meeting on March 12, 2024, where they determined that, quote, "no hearing was warranted," unquote. When asked by Guilford resident if the board would share their reasoning for their decision, Chairman Wilson explained that discussions held in executive session are confidential. Despite all the emails he received regarding the methadone clinic, despite all the media reports that have documented how upset the citizens of Guilford are, despite the 3 citizen petitions, and despite the ethics complaint, did First Selectman Matt Hoey think there would be any negative repercussions from his decision to bring a methadone clinic to Guilford? Let's listen.
administration or the residents in that said town? Do you want to start first, Matt, and then I'll pass back to Michael to finish up?
I think the first advice that I'd give to any other elected official is don't have any preconceived notions. Have an open mind and listen to your community. You're going to find more people will support this than don't support it because, like Mike and myself, substance abuse has touched almost every family in this country in some form or fashion. So, and I would say be comfortable in your willingness to take not a risk, but to take the right stance and to do something. In the business we're in, issues flare up, and what happened to that? People's memories, are funny, and these issues tend to pale over time. So don't get caught up in the immediate outrage by a small portion of the.
These then are the facts. 1. Guilford's first selectman, Matt Hoey, brought the APT methadone clinic to Guilford on his own, without any public notice by the town, without allowing any public input from the citizens or businesses in Guilford, without conducting any impact studies to gauge the effect this clinic would have on crime, safety, property values, traffic, the environment, the town budget, the police, fire departments, and without performing any background checks into the APT Foundation or the effect their clinics have had on other communities. 2. 3 petitions regarding the methadone clinic, one signed by 68 concerned Guilford residents, and the other 2 signed by 450 concerned Guilford residents each, were rejected by First Selectman Hoey and the Guilford Board of Selectmen. 3. The Guilford Board of Ethics refused to hold a public hearing to investigate the ethical violations of First Selectman Matt Hoey set forth in an ethical complaint signed by 370 concerned Guilford residents. 4. First Selectman Hoey has refused to answer any questions from the community about the methadone clinic. 5. First Selectman Hoey has refused to ask the APT Foundation to relocate their methadone clinic to a more appropriate location. 6. The entire Guilford town government, which includes the Board of Selectmen, the town planner, the town council, the Planning and Zoning Commission, the town building department heads, and the Board of Ethics Appeals, were all complicit in allowing the APT methadone clinic to come to Guilford with zero regard for the citizens and the businesses in Guilford. 7. First Selectman Matt Hoey considers the negative reaction from the citizens and businesses of Guilford to his decision to bring a methadone clinic to Guilford to be a temporary distraction. Now you know the facts about how Guilford First Selectman Matt Hoey made the decision unilaterally, on his own, to bring a methadone clinic to Guilford. You now know that First Selectman Hoey thinks his decision to bring this methadone clinic to Guilford was, quote, the right thing to do, unquote. You now know that First Selectman Hoey knew the properties purchases by APT were zoned for, quote, medical use as of right, unquote, and that once the properties were purchased, there was no way to stop the methadone clinic from opening. And you now know that the First Selectman Hoey doesn't think property values will go down, doesn't think there will be any negative impact on our town, and that the negative reaction to his decision to bring a methadone clinic to Guilford is only a temporary distraction. What do you, the concerned citizens and businesses of Guilford who will be most impacted by this decision, think?